Hey, I'm excited about this one. I love to cook, but there's not a lot of technology in cooking, or is there? Joining us right now, Kenji López-Alt. He is the managing culinary director of a website called Serious Eats. You got to see it, seriouseats.com. The author of this James Beard award-winning cookbook, The Food Lab: Better Home Cooking Through Science. And we're going to cook.
Yeah, we are.
Kenji,
hey,
are you a scientist or a cook?
I'm a cook who dabbles in science. I'm a fan of cooking and science, and actually I'm really just a writer.
So we're going to do some traditional cooking stuff, but I see you also have a sous vide going.
We're gonna use basically 4 different tools here, ranging from like the most primitive.
That is the original technology.
Yes. Up to the more advanced stuff, the sous vide circulator and the pressure cooker. And then we'll also go outside and put meat on a fire. So super primitive and much more advanced. But sometimes the primitive stuff is the best. You know, the mortar and pestle, and I've done side-by-side taste tests on this. If you're making a curry paste or a spice blend or something, the flavor that you extract from a mortar and pestle is much better than what you can get out of a food processor. Yeah. When you have a sharp blade of a food processor or a blender, you're kind of sharing them apart, but you aren't completely crushing them, so you don't get as much of that flavor released as you do when you actually just crush them.
Harold McGee taught me that too.
Oh yeah.
Right. So let's grind away.
So we're going to do this Vietnamese style grilled pork chop. So we're starting with some lemongrass.
Beautiful pork chops,
Some
lemongrass.
fresh lemongrass. This is a little palm sugar. You can also use brown sugar, just a couple tablespoons. Some garlic.
The palm sugar you could find at a Vietnamese
at
store,
an Asian grocery store.
Okay.
Yeah. Some shallots.
Love shallots.
And then some white peppercorns.
Shallots are nice because they're not quite as strong as onions or garlic, but they give it a lovely tang and flavor.
Yeah, and a little bit of a sweetness.
Yeah.
And so now we want to grind these up. And what I like to do is I like to first pound down that sugar, because the sugar sort of acts as an abrasive to help break down the other ingredients. So if I was going to make like a curry paste, I would continue pounding this until it's totally fine.
Smells fabulous. I wish you could smell this.
But for this purpose, this is pretty good. We have a nice moist paste, and now I'm going to add just some fish sauce to there.
Fish sauce is key in Asian cooking.
And
I think a lot
of
people don't know. Well, first of all, the name turns them off.
Right.
but without it, you wouldn't have a lot of the distinctive flavors of Southeast Asia.
Yeah, but once we cook it and have everything else in there, it kind of blends in. Okay, so now we're just going to marinate these pork chops.
Now we're gonna, normally I think of sous vide as an all-day affair, like 12 hours, but you said this is gonna go a little faster.
Yeah, okay, so sous vide, there are a number of different things you can do with it. You can take sort of tough cuts of meat, like say a pork shoulder or ribs, and cook them for 12 hours or 24 hours or even
at very low temperature.
36, 72 hours, exactly. You know, 130 degrees, 140 degrees, and you'll break down the connective tissue and tenderize them without losing much moisture. But sous vide is also great for quick cooking things, so like a steak or a chicken breast, or in this case pork chops, because it allows you to very evenly cook it through, so that, you know, when you cook through a more traditional method, you end up with sort of this bullseye pattern where the very center might be medium rare in a steak, but then it gets progressively more cooked.
It's the toughest thing to do, isn't it? And pork chops will really dry out if you overcook them.
Yes, absolutely.
And people don't want rare pork chops, so this is a trick. This is good. All right.
So we're gonna take a couple of these pork chops, stick them in this plastic bag.
Eat this afterwards, or is this this is for your dinner? Okay, good. Because I skipped lunch because I knew. All right.
And we'll do.
Now this is an Anova, which everybody seems to agree is the sous vide of choice. This is, you use your own pot, and it is a very accurate thermometer that can maintain a very accurate temperature for a long period of time.
So it has an impeller that pulls up water, heats it to a precise temperature, and then spits it back out.
And you've set it for 140 degrees.
140 degrees.
That's pretty hot for sous vide. Or no?
It depends what you're cooking. Okay. 140 degrees for a pork chop is just about medium, maybe slightly under medium.
We want to get the internal temperature of the pork chop to 140 degrees.
Exactly. Okay. And these are thin pork chops, so they're going to take probably 20 minutes or so to get there. Okay. So let's just do 3 right now.
The other thing, of course, when you do sous vide, I'll do anything you need me to do.
Oh, sure,
I'll be your sous chef.
I'll hold this open and just spoon, like, say, let's do half of it in there.
The other thing that, of course, happens is you don't get any browning of the of the pork chop in the sous vide process. So meat kind of comes out gray, kind of.
Yeah, it comes out very unappetizing. But you know, so when you pull something out of a sous vide machine, it's technically already cooked. But you won't have any browning at all.
Exactly. But it's just not doesn't look good.
It won't taste great. So with sous vide,
the caramelization of cooking. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. So with sous vide, you always, almost always finish via a very high heat method. So what we're going to do is start these pork chops sous vide, then we're going to finish them on the grill outside to get some color on them.
Where did sous vide come from? It seemed to have suddenly emerged in our awareness, but Is it older than just the last decade?
Oh yeah. So it was invented in the 70s in France.
What is that? That's a French word. It means under.
Yeah, sous vide means under vacuum.
Under vacuum. Okay.
Yeah. So it was invented in the 70s in France, and mainly as a way, the idea was to have consistency in cooked meat, and to be able to store meat, like for hotels and things like that.
Restaurants did it a lot too, right?
Exactly.
In fact, they still do it. You may be eating sous vide, you don't know it.
Oh yeah.
Because it looks like a normally cooked steak.
Yeah.
So vacuum, but there's no vacuum. You just
So
put that
what
in
we're
a
doing,
Ziploc.
so what we're doing here is a method called the water displacement method. So you don't really need a strong vacuum to do sous vide. So I could use a vacuum sealer and suck out all the air from here. What we're going to do instead is use water displacement to do it. So you see, I've left this bag open just a little bit, about an inch on this end. So as I lower these pork chops into the bag, the pressure of the water is going to push the air out of the bag, and so all I have to do is kind of push it down. And
you don't want air because it's an insulator? Is that one?
Exactly, because the air will mess up the way it cooks. It's an insulator.
And then once you get it under, then you seal it.
Just before it's about to go under, I seal it.
Now, speaking of chemistry, do we worry about leaching any chemicals out of the plastic?
So, yeah, some people do. And you can buy bags that are specifically made for
I've seen
cooking sous vide.
silicone rubber bags, for instance.
Yeah. There are all different kinds of bags that are specifically made for cooking sous vide. For relatively low temperatures and short cook times like this, I personally don't worry too much because at least the bag manufacturers and the government says it's safe.
So this is the current temperature. It went down immediately.
Yes.
The temperature you're going for is 140, so it's going to pump it up and heat it up to the point.
Exactly.
Now I see Bluetooth on here. Can you control this with your phone?
You can,
as
yeah.
well?
There's an app, so you can control Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. Actually.
Oh, that's cool. Do you need a specific sous vide recipe, or can you just apply this to almost any kind of recipe?
You can apply it to almost any kind of recipe. I mean, these pork chops we could technically do 100% on the grill.
Yeah.
Sous vide just makes it a little bit more foolproof, so that we know that they're going to be perfectly medium.
That marinade smells fantastic. I can't wait to try that. Now what?
So now we're going to cook a little bit of rice.
15 minutes of this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And in the meantime, we're going to cook some rice. I like to use the pressure cooker for rice. I'm using it exactly just like a rice cooker. I mean, this is
like
also
a
one
rice
of my
cooker.
most used kitchen tools.
Yeah.
So rice typically in a rice cooker would take about 30 minutes or so.
Right.
In a pressure cooker, it takes about 5.
Oh, I like that.
Some time for it to heat up. Once it's at temperature, about 5 minutes. So total, probably about 10 minutes.
And we're going to do a short grain Japanese rice?
Yeah, Japanese style rice here,
okay.
which is just what I like. It can do any rice. But same basic ratio. About for Japanese rice, it's about 1.1 to 1. 1.1 parts water to 1 part rice.
Shorter grain rice is has more starch in it, so it's a little more sticky, right?
Tends to be stickier. Yeah. Not always, but tends to be stickier. Yeah. Right. Modern multi-cookers, that's what they call them. Multi-cookers. Modern multi-cookers, I think, are one of the best kitchen inventions in the last 10 years.
Well, it's great. I can braise a piece of meat in it, brown it a little bit, then have a slow cooker all day.
Yeah.
And then I'll make the rice afterwards.
Right. No, like those old infomercials where they're like, this one appliance will throw out all of your other appliances. Like this, you literally can throw away your rice cooker, you can throw away your other pressure cooker, you can throw away your slow cooker. Like it really does all that stuff actually really well. One of my favorite gadgets.
Are these done already?
So yeah. Basically, in the time that we spent.
How do you know they're done?
Well, I mean timing, but you can feel them. But timing, with the chop this thin, they're
They
about.
don't look done.
They don't. Well, because
they look raw.
Again, they're not going to get any color until we finish searing them. But they're cooked through. They're cooked through to 140 degrees. With a like half-inch thick like this, it takes about 20 minutes or so.
It's amazing. But you definitely there's going to be another step because if you plated those, they're completely safe and I'm sure they're delicious. Nobody's going to eat.
I would argue that they probably aren't even delicious at this point. There's no color on them. There's no browning.
Yeah,
and that's what
that's
really
important, isn't it? The crispy caramelization of the crust.
Yeah, well, it's the Maillard reaction is what it's called. The,
Maillard.
The browning reaction, and essentially what you're doing is you're breaking down sugars and proteins and sort of recombining them it's this sort of cascade of chemical reactions, and you create hundreds of new compounds, and that's what.
So you gotta do that.
You do, yeah. That's what makes the complex flavor in browned meat.
Good.
Now,
if you're boiling an egg, you don't. There are things you can sous vide that's the end of it.
That is, yeah. If you can cook an egg sous vide, break it out of the shell, and it's done.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you can get textures that you never thought imaginable.
Very velvety, yeah. But for meat, you're going to want to do a second step, and we're about to do that, which is bring it out to the grill.
So you want to grab those out? I'll grab the tongs, and we'll
Don't
go
trip,
grill
Leo.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to fill this up with coals. We're going to put this grate on top, and then we're going to cook directly over
Make it easy, right?
Yeah, cook directly over the charcoal chimney. You get much higher heat that way. Here, if you wanna fill those in,
Yep.
just dump some in.
Yep. Now I've seen people use blow torches to do this.
I'm gonna use a blowtorch to light it at least.
But you could use that to sear the meat and do all the work, right?
You could, yeah.
You
definitely
fill
could.
it all the way, or?
Yeah. Here, why don't we actually let me just lift this? Here, let's do this. There we go.
I already got my hands blackened, so it doesn't really doesn't matter.
There's a sink around the
Yeah, I'm fine.
around the corner there.
I'll just wipe it off on my black shirt, and you'll never know. But there is something about
wait a little bit.
the fire that's a little bit better than a torch, right? You're going to get some smokiness.
Yeah, you know, we actually. So I did this video last month with Adam Savage from MythBusters.
Yeah.
We did it back here, and we shot. So we actually tested searing steaks with a bunch of different methods.
Oh, fun.
Including this method, which was the winning method. This was the best method. We did it over a regular grill. We did it with a torch. We did it like this, and then we did it over this 1600 degree aluminum forge. And it turns out this one is the best.
Adam has an aluminum forge lying around. That's nice. And this is the best flavor.
The best sort of heat level. You know, it's.
Right.
And flavor, yeah. When it gets too hot, the meat ends up like burning before it develops a nice thick crust. Too cool, and you end up overcooking the meat underneath before it can get a good crust. So this is like a nice balance. It gets you really hot, really high heat, but also it's just cool enough that you can get like a nice crispy crust as opposed to just like instantly blackening. Yeah, look at that hot air.
Yeah, it's on a hot day. There's nothing like a hot grill. Why is it we only grill in summer? We should grill in the winter when we can use the heat. Just what I needed. A nice warm grill.
You ready here?
All right. So how long are you going to put it? Not long, right?
It should probably take about a minute per chop.
Okay.
Maybe less.
Listen to that sizzle. And this isn't going to really penetrate to the middle, so we don't have to worry about a dry pork chop here.
Exactly, that's the idea. We just want to brown the outside. It's already cooked through to the middle, so we don't have to really worry about that.
It's good to do this with pork, because pork is one of the most challenging meats to cook. It tends to get so dry if you overcook it, and you don't want to undercook it, because most people don't want pink pork chops.
Exactly. Yeah, pork can get very dry. But yeah, 140 degrees is going to be nice. It should be nice and juicy. We'll see. Maybe it won't be.
So we've made the spice blend. We've marinated the pork chop. It wasn't very long either. It was only about 15 minutes, maybe. Not too long.
Yeah.
You could do it longer.
You could do it longer. Yeah. Although marinades, you know, they don't really. There's this myth that they penetrate. Yeah, they don't really penetrate very fast. So whether you do it 15 minutes or a couple hours, it's a minimal difference. But you know.
And also, this is a nice cut. You're not marinating it to break down the cut as you would with a flank steak, where you really need to soften it. These are
already nice
going to
and
be
tender.
Delicious. Yeah. And the rice, is it done? Let's see.
It looks done.
So Kenji López-Alt, SeriousEats.com. Go ahead, you take the first bite. I want to see how this looks.
Make sure it's not poison.
It's perfect, and it's not pink. Is it tasty?
Yep.
It looks so tender. Oh my gosh.
Pretty good.
It is so tender. Look at that. And nothing pink inside. All right, I'm gonna have a little bite. And we don't need to salt this because it's so flavorful.
And the fish sauce is there too. Can you interpret for me? We'll be right back with more of the screensavers in a moment. Thank you, Kenji. Wonderful. Oh my gosh, that's good. I gotta try the rice too, though. Oh, look at that. Oh, baby. I might add a little bit.